Hi, very good morning. I'm Dr. Janak Patel. I'm MD General Physician. I'm not an endocrinologist. Whatever I've gathered from internet and slideside.com, etc. Today I'll be discussing on one of the short topic, but you will see quite common in your everyday practice. We call that as gynecomastia. That is presence of a breast tissue in male. So gynecomastia is quite a common problem in a male, and once in a while you will see those patients, and if you get a good history, have a proper examination, you can pick up those cases and you can help them out. So by definition, it is a presence of breast tissue in a male. It is common, quite common in certain normal individuals, particularly during newborn period, at puberty, and during old age. Absolutely normal phenomena. That is because of little increase in level of estrogen level. There are three common words which are being there: true gynecomastia, pseudo gynecomastia, and breast cancer. Now, whenever there is a presence of rubbery or a firm mass extending concentrically and symmetrically from nipple, maybe unilateral, maybe bilateral, you call that as a gynecomastia, and it is called true gynecomastia. But if there is a fat deposition without any granular proliferation, and on examination you do not meet any resistance until they reach the nipple, that is called pseudogynecomastia. Means there is no glandular tissue, there is only fat deposition, and it will quite frequently be seen in an obese person. While if there is a hard, firm, eccentric in location from nipple, and very frequently it is associated with skin dimpling, nipple retraction, discharge from nipple, and lymphadenopathy, axillary lymphadenopathy on that side. That is most likely to be breast malignancy. These are the three common groups you will see in a male. We have already told you that gynecomastia is a benign enlargement of a breast tissue, proliferation of a glandular breast tissue. While pseudogynecomastia, it is because of the presence of adipose tissue. It is also called as adipomastia or lipomastia. It is because of maximum amount of fat tissue, and it is quite commonly seen in a obese individual. So pseudogynecomastia or lipomastia or adipomastia, it is because of fat deposition. According to Simmons, it can be classified into stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and 2 is divided into 2A and B. Slight increase in the volume with no excess skin, stage 1. Moderate volume plus no excess skin, 2A. Moderate volume with excess skin, 2B. And marked volume with increase in excess of skin, you will call as stage 3. Now, if you look at the etiology, the most common etiology is idiopathic, drug-induced, and pubertal, persistent pubertal gynecomastia. These three will be accounting for nearly 75% of the people. While in cirrhosis, malnutrition, primary hypogonadism, some of the testicular tumor, secondary hypogonadism, certain cases of hyperthyroidism, CKD, the percentage is quite less. Out of that, primary hypogonadism and in case of cirrhosis, you will see that particular quite common. That is accounting for another 16%. And if you add up all this, it will become almost, we call, these are 75 and this is 16. So it will be almost 91%. So majority of the will come into these 5 groups. drug induced, idiopathic, post-pubertal or during puberty and then it persists, cirrhosis of liver and primary hypogonadism. So persistent pubertal almost 25%, drug is almost 25%, and idiopathic is also 25%. So these three is accounting for the major group. Cirrhosis, hypogonadism, another 8%, and we have given you all these causes. And some of the endocrine causes like hyperprolactinemia, acromegaly, androgen receptor disorders, excessive aromatase activity, etc. All these can be another additional groups. So estrogen excess is the main mechanism by which you get a development of the gynecomastia, or because of androgen deficiency, or because of altered androgen estrogen ratio during puberty and decreased androgen action. These are the different mechanism and different groups which you can put. Estrogen excess, androgen deficiency, altered androgen estrogen ratio means estrogen level becomes little more than expected. Say classical example, cirrhosis, or we call as malnutrition, CKD, hyperthyroidism, drug induced, etc. And decrease androgen action, particularly say you are using spironolactone, one of the drug which was H2 receptor antagonist nowadays not utilized, cimetidine, or you are using estrogen from outside, iotrogen. These are some of the conditions. So you can have a physiological condition, pathological conditions. Once in a while it can be because of misuse of anabolic abuse, where you are utilizing some of the anabolic hormones for a treatment. So gynecomastia is multifactorial. One of the another cause of gynecomastia is ACE inhibitor also. Exact mechanism is not known. So as far as drug is concerned, one of the drug is ACE inhibitor. You can have in alcoholic liver disease. You can have in the person who is consuming marijuana, and some of the person with strong family history also you can have gynecomastia. These are all the drugs which can be there which can lead to gynecomastia. One of the most common which we utilize is amiodarone, cimetidine nowadays not utilized, androgenic hormones, ketoconazole, spironolactone. These are common drugs which you utilize in your everyday practice. As far as anti-epileptic is concerned, phenytoin sodium, that is also one of the drug which is very commonly utilized, can end up with gynecomastia. I'll skip over this slide. This is again showing you lot number of drugs which are utilized in your everyday practice. ACE inhibitors, amiodarone, digoxin, spironolactone. These are the common drugs. You can come across alcohol, ketoconazole, metronidazole, even omeprazole can be associated with gynecomastia. As far as prevalence is concerned, in infancy almost 60 to 90%. In adolescent 50 to 60%, you can say roughly 50 to 60%, and then it can slowly regress. In an older person again 25 to 65%, and highest prevalence is between 50 to 80 years. You can have, these are normal gynecomastia which are non-pathologic. If you go through a pathophysiology, very simple to understand, four basic mechanisms. Because of increased circulating estrogen or decrease in circulating testosterone level or reversal of the ratio or decreased response of testosterone on peripheral receptors. These are all the conditions which can end up with what we call as development of the gynecomastia. So we are not going into detailed part of that. Some of the conditions where there is an increased level of testosterone, that testosterone will be converted into estrogen, and decreased level of testosterone can produce gynecomastia. Classical example, hypogonadism, certain drugs, Cushing syndrome, etc., where the testosterone level is reduced. While estrogen level, if it is elevated, it will result into, by and large, true gynecomastia. You can have a hypogonadism, etc. So there will be a good number of conditions which can result into gynecomastia. So this is one chart which is showing you how those different mechanisms can end up with, because testicular hormone will be secreted by two, one by testes and second by adrenal glands. If in adrenal glands there is a decreased production of androgens, it can end up with gynecomastia. Or if there is anything which happens to the testis, hypogonadism, maybe primary, maybe secondary, there will be decreased production of testosterone, that will also end up with gynecomastia. Or there is any condition where there is increased level of estrogen, then also it can end up with gynecomastia. Maybe drug induced, maybe primary, maybe secondary, etc. And basically because of excess level of estrogen and decreased level of testosterone, or decreased effect of testosterone on peripheral receptors, there will be more effect of estrogen which will give rise to glandular proliferation, and that glandular proliferation we call as gynecomastia. More of estrogen exposure, decreased androgen exposure. So balance between these two is reversed. So more estrogen, less testosterone will produce that. So estrogen exposure more common in excess production, excess producing tumors, or by exogenous estrogen, or by excess of free estrogen, say like in case of thyrotoxicosis, etc., or because of decreased androgens, because of either genetic defects or because of tumors or because of drugs, or there is a mutation in androgen receptors, we call peripheral androgen resistance. So there will be some condition where the free estrogen level will be elevated, or there is a decrease in sex hormone binding globulins, which if the level is high, the testosterone will be firmly attached. You will have a less amount of free testosterone in blood, and the ratio of testosterone to estrogen may be reversed, and that can also end up with gynecomastia. Decreased level of androgens in blood, say because of testes or adrenal glands, or because of increased binding to sex hormone binding globulin or peripheral resistance, or displacement of androgen from receptors because of mutation, etc., you can have decreased level of testosterone. So these are the different mechanisms which can end up with. On a clinical finding, the person will complain of increased size of the breast tissue, and on examination you will get little hardness below the nipple, and that is consisting of a glandular tissue. So it is a rubbery firm disc-like tissue, mobile, located beneath areolar area, or we call nipple. In a pseudogynecomastia, there are discrete mass which are made up of fat tissue, also we call as a lipomastia or adipomastia. Or you can have, because of malignancy, you can have enlargement of a hard tissue along with nipple discharge, retraction of a nipple, or retraction of the skin above that particular mass, and you can have an axillary lymphadenopathy, etc. So this is a classical appearance of gynecomastia. You will have a decreased amount of secondary sexual character because of a decreased level of testosterone and increased level of estrogen in a male. typical, very, very typical. Decrease amount of chest hair, axillary hair, even pubic hair, those will be reduced. Get a good family history, have a good clinical examination, and then you can go for laboratory examination and to find out if there is any adrenal gland or testicular tumors, or there is anything which is there which is disturbing hypothalamo pituitary glandular axis. You try to find out those particular causes. Have a good examination of a gynecomastia part, that is breast tenderness. Is there any rapid enlargement? Is there any eccentric, hard, irregular mass? Or if the lesion is more than 4 centimeter in diameter, these are all which goes in more in favor of what we call as malignancy. Good number of time it is asymptomatic, stable, person may be obese. So get a good history onset, whether it is unilateral, bilateral, whether there is any pain, whether there is change in the size, nipple discharge. Get a history of drugs, any medication particularly he is on recently, say like spironolactone, digoxin, ACE inhibitors, etc. Get a good family history. In a history, you will get duration of the breast enlargement, presence of breast tissue, tender, non-tender, drugs, whether it is prescribed or over the counter, sexual functioning, changes in virilization, changes in the weight, symptoms of hypothyroidism, quite commonly associated with gynecomastia. So look for the hypothyroid signs, breast examinations, look for finding of malignancy if it is present. Have an abdominal examination for hepatomegaly or evidence of cirrhosis of liver like portal hypertension, ascites, splenomegaly, caput medusa, gynecomastia will be present, pulmonary erythema, dependrine contractures, testicular atrophy, spider nevi, all these are signs of what we call as a chronic liver disease, cirrhosis of liver with portal hypertension. Also look for if there is any adrenal gland which is being enlarged, so possibility of adrenal mass. Examine the external genitalia, testicular size, testicular mass, degree of virilization, body hair, voice, muscles, mass, etc. So after good examination and complete full history, good examination, etc., go for breast examination, rule out thyrotoxicosis, rule out male hypogonadism, testicular neoplasia, etc. Look for Graves' disease, look for CKD, a person who is on dialysis, or person might even feminizing adrenocortical tumors, ectopic production of a human choriogonadotropic hormones, hermaphroditism, androgen insensitive syndromes, etc. And then you go for a laboratory investigations like liver function test, TSH, LH, FSH level, human choriogonadotropic hormone level, prolactin, estradiol level, testosterone level, and aldosterone level. Also, you must have an ultrasound. You can get an ultrasound, you can get a mammography and look for malignancy. You should have an ultrasound of abdomen to rule out adrenal gland tumors. And also you can have a examination for kidney to rule out a small contracted kidney very commonly, and also for liver. So liver, kidney and adrenal glands, very common cause for gynecomastia. So we call CKD, end-stage liver disease, cirrhosis of liver, adrenal mass, testicular atrophy, testicular tumors. So examine for all these organs and you can have an even ultrasound for all these organs. So after history and good physical examination, if there is a physiological gynecomastia, by and large we don't need any particular investigation. Say it is in a newborn or pubertal or in a adult person or in an old age person. No further evaluation is necessary. If there is a pseudo gynecomastia, usually by and large very easy to identify, you can go for ultrasound, which can easily help you to find out whether it is a fatty tumors, etc. And if it is a heart tumor, fix, skin changes, discharge from nipple, retracted skins, discharge of blood from nipple, and axillary lymphadenopathy, you can go directly for biopsy. And even you can have a lymph node biopsy. But if it is pathological, then you should try to find out the exact cause. Now there are two big groups we call. One group which is because of a drug induced and liver disease. So if you get a good history, you stop the drugs and you investigate for the liver disease. You look for hyperthyroidism cases, look for clinical symptoms and signs for Graves' disease. If those are present, you can go for free T34 and TSH. And you can also do what we call as a TSH receptor antibody or TRAB, thyroid receptor antibody, mainly stimulating antibody. So this will be which is little more simpler to identify clinically. Now if the person who has got hypogonadism clinically or who has got an adrenal mass on ultrasound, or if there is any suspicion of other disorders along with gynecomastia like hypopituitarism, etc., you should look for FSH level, LH level. By and large in hypogonadism and in case of gynecomastia, very frequently FSH level is reduced and LH level is elevated, and this will be very common with the person who is having empty cellar syndromes, person who is having a high level of human choriogonadotropic, estradiol level is high, etc. So you should go for the investigation for those groups. If testosterone level is markedly low, FSH and LH level is high, look for primary hypogonadism. And that will be the very simple way to approach to any person with gynecomastia. This is little bit in more detail. You will have to have a different groups. I've already told you decrease testosterone, increase LH, FSH level, primary hypogonadism. If thyroid hormone is low and even if LH is low, it will be because of hypothalamo-pituitary gonadal axis disorders. Then we call that as secondary hypogonadism. If human gonadotropic hormone is increased, have a good testicular ultrasound, look for testicular germ cell tumor, or it may be with normal ultrasound, then it may be extragonadal germ cell tumors which is secreting human choriogonadotropics. You should look for renal bronchogenic carcinoma and hepatic tumors, etc. So have a human choriono HCH level which will be elevated, and you can examine for X-ray chest, CT scan for lung, liver and kidney, very common. If you are having decreased testosterone, increased prolactin level and normal level of LH or low level of LH, you should go for MRI of head to rule out pituitary disorders like pituitary adenomas, pituitary tumor, empty sella syndromes, panhypopituitarism, etc. Because this will be associated with other group of disorders. If estrogen level is elevated and there is a normal or low level of LH, again have a testicular ultrasound. It may be because of Leydig cell tumor. And if ultrasound is normal, you can go for a CT abdomen to rule out adrenal tumors, that is adrenal neoplasia, which can be secreting more of estrogen. So that can be one of the disorders. And if the ultrasound comes out to be normal, then you can look for odd causes like obesity, liver disorders like cirrhosis of liver, thyrotoxicosis, exogenous estrogen for certain disorders, say particularly a person who is on a estrogen therapy for say breast carcinoma, etc. or prostatic malignancy in those particular groups. And if there is all negative workup, you can wait for a while. All workup, all these are normal, negative workup, then it may be what we call as you can wait. We call that as idiopathic. We are not able to pick up the cause. So this is the way you approach in a person with gynecomastia. This is a very useful slide. This slide and this slide are very useful. Have a look, have a pause, go through the entire slide. It will be very simple. Same thing shown here. Now here there is a combination of human chorionic hormones, testosterone and LH. Combination of three. When you do the level of all these three, it will help you out. If human chorionic hormone is high, then always you look for testicular ultrasound, rule out germ cell tumor, and if ultrasound of testis is normal, then look for extragonadal tumors, say like in lung, adrenal gland, liver, stomach, etc., GI tract, etc. This will be secreting what we call as a HCG. If testosterone level is low, LH level is low, means something in pituitary. Look for pituitary tumors. And in that, if prolactin level is high, it is pituitary tumors like prolactinomas or maybe secondary due to some drugs. And always try to rule out secondary hypogonadism because of pituitary tumors, hypothalamo-pituitary axis tumors or damage to that particular area or maybe because of drugs. If testosterone level is low, LH level is normal or high, always primary hypogonadism, look at the testis. If testosterone is high, LH is also high and still person is having gynecomastia, means it is androgen resistance group or there is an excess of sex hormone binding globulin, say as for example in thyrotoxicosis or some of the drugs. If they are normal, testosterone is normal, LH is normal, estrogen is normal, idiopathic or familial. If testosterone is normal, estrogen is high, LH is low. Leydig cell tumors, if ultrasound is normal, go for adrenal tumors and aromatous activity, means person is on some drugs for treatment of say CA prostate, etc. So look for those. This is same again, whatever we have mentioned here is shown here, little bit in little more detail. So at your leisure time you can go through that, how you approach to a person with gynecomastia. So we have already mentioned all those things, so I can skip over this particular. So you can go for all this hormone, of which TSH is to rule out Graves' disease, LH, FSH, HCG, testosterone, estradiol level and prolactin to rule out what we call as an endocrine group of disorders. Endocrine group of disorder. Ultrasound is to find out any tumors, maybe benign, maybe malignant. You may combine with CT or MRI. So these are all the different tests which you can go for. I've already discussed. Also, you should look for liver, kidney, and lung for ectopic production of human gonadotrophic hormones. As far as management is concerned, physiological don't require any treatment. You can watch. Some of the gynecomastia don't require any treatment. We call watchful waiting. If it is a big gynecomastia producing painful, you can go for medications and you can go for surgery. Mainly the symptoms as far as gynecomastia, pain, tenderness, the person is embraced, there is an excessive worry, he starts getting psychological symptoms, you can go for treatment part. So goal is mainly to relieve discomfort like pain, tenderness, to restore normal appearance, again if the person is having an embracement or excessive worry. Reassure regarding a malignancy, so always rule out malignancy first. If there is no evidence of malignancy, you can wait and watch. And if there is any underlying cause like drugs, liver disease, kidney disease, endocrine disorders, etc., you can treat the basic etiology. And this is what is being done for a gynecomastia. So on clinical examination, if there is a pseudogynecomastia, you don't require anything except for a shape. You can go for a surgery and you can end up with a plastic surgery. If there is a suspicion of a breast cancer, biopsy followed by surgery, and you can have radiotherapy and drugs. If there is no symptoms, then you can wait and watch, reassure the person. And if it is benign, 100%, you can reassure a person. If there is a modifiable cause for gynecomastia and there is no malignancy, then you can correct underlying cause of gynecomastia. You can use medical therapy and if required, surgical therapy. Surgery mainly includes liposuction, direct surgical excision, or you can go for both liposuction and excision. The complication, post-surgical complications are quite common. If person is not responding to the medical therapy, then also you can go for surgery. Very frequently person complains of numbness in the area of surgery. There may be compromised blood supply, irregular contour, you might have hematoma following a post-surgical period, seromas, wound infections, and other complications because of any surgeries. So surgical option mainly liposuction, gland excision, skin sculpture, reduction in mammoplasty, and combination of any one of these techniques. So this is before and this is after surgery. You can hardly make any difference. This is before and this is after. You can see a discharge, and if this is hemorrhagic, always try to rule out malignancy. We have already told you the complications. These are some of the common complications which can occur following a surgery. So I end my lecture here. I hope this will be very helpful to you. Once in a while you will see a person with gynecomastia. Always try to have a look for physiological and pathological. Rule out pseudo gynecomastia and rule out malignancy. And rule out treatable causes like drugs and some of the treatable conditions.